Family mocked. My small apartment. 5 years later. I own the building they're still renting. And my phone is blowing up so hard, it's vibrating across the polished wood table in this attorney's office. And I'm trying to sign my name on the final page without my hand shaking like I've had 6 coffees. The escrow officer is mid-sentence. Congratulations. You're officially the owner as of 2:14 p.m. And I swear, the universe chooses that exact second to drop the match into the gasoline. Family group chat, 112 new messages. 4 missed calls from Mum. 3 from Dad. 1 from my aunt with the voice notes. And then a number I haven't seen in years lights up the screen like a threat. Uncle Samir, the guy who once told me my tiny rental box was proof I'd never make it. The attorney glances at my phone like he already knows it's not just congratulations. My property manager, Jenna, leans closer and whispers, "Do you want me to step out?" Like she can feel the storm coming. Then my screen flashes again. Text from my cousin Talia. "Why is the landlord's name you?" Another message hits right after. "Dad is losing it. Call him right now." And then my inbox pings with an email from the building's tenant portal, because of course everything lands at once. Subject line, "Notice of change in ownership." I open the family chat with my thumb, and it's chaos like someone threw a lit phone into a bathtub. Screenshots everywhere. A blurry photo of a letter. Someone posting the building address. My mother typing like her life depends on it. "This is a mistake." Then, "Answer me." Then, "We have rights," all in a row. My dad, "Do not play games." My aunt, "I knew you were up to something." My brother, who's barely spoken to me since he got married, drops one line like a dagger. "So, you've been collecting rent from Mum and Dad." Collecting rent. Like I've been sitting in a villain chair stroking a cat. My property manager's phone rings, and she answers, face turning pale. "Hi, yes, no, we're not discussing tenants over the phone." She looks at me and mouths, "It's your mother." She covers the mic. "They're saying they're going to the office, right now." The escrow officer is still smiling politely, sliding documents into a folder, unaware that my personal life is currently trying to kick down the door. Then my phone rings again. Dad. Again. And again. Back to back, like he's trying to dial through 5 years of silence and force me into the old role. Fixer, peacemaker, punching bag. I'm staring at his name on the screen and my throat is going tight. Not because I miss him, but because I know that voice. That voice that doesn't ask. It orders. It rewrites reality while you're still living it. I stand up so fast my chair legs scrape the floor. The attorney says, "Everything okay?" And I hear myself laugh once, sharp and ugly. "Perfect," I say. "This is perfect." Jenna is already pulling up the tenant roster on her tablet. "Unit 3B, she murmurs, eyes scanning. "Your parents. Past due. 2 months. She says it like a fact. Not a weapon, but it hits like a slap anyway. Past due. 2 months. And they're in my chat calling me a mistake. I step into the hallway outside the conference room, and the moment the door clicks shut, I answer Dad's call. Not because I owe him. Because I want one clean sentence on record before he starts the shouting. "What is this?" he demands before I can even say hello. His voice is already loud. I can hear Mum in the background, wailing like someone died. "Why are we getting letters? Why is there a new owner? Why is your name—" He stops like he's choking on it. "Are you trying to embarrass us?" "I bought the building," I say. My voice comes out steady, which surprises me. Today. It closed 15 minutes ago. Silence. Not calm silence. The kind where someone is deciding which version of anger to use. Then Mum's voice bursts through the speaker, high and frantic. You did what? You can't do that to your own parents, after everything we've done for you. She's crying, but it's not sad crying. It's rage crying. This is cruel. Cruel, I repeat, and I'm gripping the phone so hard my knuckles hurt. You mean like laughing at me in my own apartment and calling it a shoebox? Like telling everyone I was playing pretend adult because I couldn't afford a house? Dad cuts in sharp. Don't change the subject. You're going to fix this. We will not have you as our landlord. That's humiliating. In the background, I hear my aunt's voice, too loud, too eager, saying, "Put it on speaker. Tell her she can't." Like this is entertainment. Like my life has always been a group activity. I close my eyes for a second, inhale through my nose, and then I make the bold move right there in the hallway with my heart hammering. I stop trying to get their approval. I stop trying to be understood by people who only understand control. I'm not discussing your tenancy on the phone, I say. Your tenants. Anything you need goes through management, not me. Dad's voice spikes. Excuse me? You heard me, I say. Do not come to my office. Do not call Jenna. Do not harass staff. If you have questions, you submit them through the tenant portal like everyone else. Mum sobs louder. So you're throwing us out? She screams. You're going to make us homeless. I said nothing about that, I say, and my stomach twists because I hate this twisting of words. You're behind on rent. That's a fact. Management will handle it. Dad explodes. After we paid for your... He stops. Because he didn't. And he knows he didn't. The line goes dead for a second, like he's stunned by his own failed script. Then my phone buzzes with a new, incoming call. My uncle, and my family chat starts spitting notifications like popcorn. Someone has posted an old screenshot, a humiliating one, like they're trying to shame me back into place. It's a text from 5 years ago, from Mum. The day I moved into my small apartment. Mum, don't invite anyone over, it's embarrassing. My cousin writes underneath it. Wait, she said this to you? The chat pauses. Not fully, but there's a hiccup. Like even the drama addicts need a second to process that she actually typed that and sent it. And now it's resurfacing at the worst possible time. I stare at the screenshot until my eyes burn. Then I do the one thing I never used to do. I don't defend myself with paragraphs. I don't beg them to understand. I don't soften it. I type one message into the family chat, short enough that nobody can twist it. I'm not your landlord. The building has management. Pay your rent. Stop calling me. Any threats or harassment get documented. Then I mute the chat. My hands are shaking. My attorney opens the hallway door a crack and asks, "Do you want to reschedule the walkthrough?" And I hear myself say, "No." Because I'm not letting them steal this too. Not the moment. Not the proof. Not the quiet win I built out of years of being laughed at. To understand why this feels unreal, you need to know what my family was saying about my small apartment before today, and how hard they worked to make sure I felt small inside it. 5 years ago, I was 26 and broke in the specific way that doesn't look dramatic from the outside. I had a decent job. I paid my bills. I didn't have a trust fund, a safety net, or parents who helped without keeping score. I had a key to a 1-bedroom apartment in an older building with thin walls and a weird smell in the hallway that never fully left. It wasn't a dump. It wasn't glamorous. It was mine. The first place that was mine. My family treated it like I'd announced I was moving into a storage unit. The first time Mum came over, she stood in the doorway and made a face like she'd tasted something sour. "This is it?" she said. Not hello. Not congratulations. "Where's the rest of it?" She walked straight into the kitchen, opened cabinets like she was inspecting a rental, and said, "You'll never have space for children here." I wasn't even dating anyone. I was just trying to survive. Dad didn't even pretend. He sat on my couch, my first couch, cheap, second-hand, still smelling slightly like someone else's detergent, and looked around like he was calculating the square meters. "You're paying money for this?" he said. "This is why you'll never get ahead. You don't think long-term." My brother came later, with his wife, and the second he walked in, he laughed. Actually laughed. "This is cute," he said, like I was a child playing house. His wife said, "Aw," in that pitying voice. Mum joined in. Dad smirked. And then my aunt said the sentence that stayed in my head for years. "At least it's not a studio. She's moving up." That night, they took photos, without asking, and posted them in the family chat. "Look at her little place," my aunt wrote with laughing emojis. My cousin replied, "It's giving broke student vibes." My mum wrote, "She chose this," like I'd done it to myself for fun. I remember standing in my bathroom after they left, looking at my own face in the mirror and feeling heat behind my eyes. Not tears yet. Just heat, humiliation, anger, the urge to throw something. And then, because I've been trained to swallow my feelings around them, I did the thing I always did. I cleaned. I scrubbed the counters like I could scrub off their laughter. I wiped the sink until my hands hurt. I rearranged my mugs. I made the space perfect because I needed proof that it deserved respect, even if I didn't get any. They kept it up. Every family dinner became a little performance about my tiny place. "How's your shoebox?" Dad would ask, smirking, while passing bread. "Can you even fit a table in there?" Mum would say, as if she didn't see my actual table when she visited. My brother would say, "When you get a real place, let us know," like he was doing me a favor by acknowledging I existed. And every time, I'd feel my throat tighten, and I'd force a laugh. Because if I got defensive, they'd call me sensitive. If I got angry, they'd call me dramatic. If I went quiet, they'd say I was rude. There was no winning. The only way to survive was to take it and keep moving. But something shifted for me in that apartment. It wasn't inspirational. It wasn't, "I'll show them." It was simpler. I was exhausted of being laughed at, and I realized nobody was coming to rescue me from my own life. If I wanted stability, I had to build it with my hands, quietly, patiently, without telling them, because telling them made it dirty. Telling them made it a debate. I started saving like a maniac. Not the cute skip-a-latte kind, the real kind. I tracked everything. I negotiated bills. I took side gigs. I did extra shifts. I stopped buying things that made me feel better for 5 minutes and started buying things that made me safer for 5 years. I learned how to read financial statements, the way some people learn recipes. I learned what interest rates actually meant. I learned what leverage meant without turning into one of those people who says it like a personality trait. I didn't tell my family because they would have mocked that too. "She thinks she's an investor now," my brother would have said. "She's going to become a landlord," my aunt would have laughed, like it was a joke. So I built in silence. A coworker, older, blunt, the kind of woman who doesn't sugarcoat anything, asked me one day why I always looked tense around paydays. I told her, half joking, because I'm trying to buy my way out of being broke. She said, "Good. Start with property, but don't be romantic about it." She introduced me to a small group that did local property investing. Nothing flashy. Mostly people who wanted long-term security. I sat in meetings and listened more than I spoke. I learned. I asked dumb questions. I took notes. The first thing I bought wasn't a dream home. It was a tiny stake in a small multi-unit building with 2 other partners. I owned a percentage. Not enough to brag about. Enough to learn. I watched how expenses worked, how tenants were handled, how regulations mattered, how emotions had no place in it. I learned to keep everything documented. I learned to let the numbers talk, even when my ego wanted to. Meanwhile, my parents kept renting. That part matters, because my parents weren't poor. They weren't struggling in the way they claimed. They just lived like people who assumed someone else would handle the consequences later. They rented the same apartment in my city because it was convenient and because they hated commitments that didn't give them immediate applause. They were the type to spend money on dinners, on appearances, on gifts for my brother's kids, and then complain they were tight when rent was due. They'd call me and hint for help sometimes. "Things are hard," Mum would sigh. "Your brother has expenses," Dad would add, as if that explained why their rent was late. I never helped, not because I'm heartless, because every time I did anything for them, it came with strings. It came with leverage. It came with them feeling entitled to a say in my life. They hated that I said no. They called it selfish. They called it cold. They told relatives I was changing, like the old me, the one who swallowed everything and smiled, was the version they preferred. Then, 2 years ago, the building they lived in went up for sale. I found out by accident. Jenna, the property manager, wasn't my manager at the time, but she worked in the industry, and she mentioned a listing she thought was interesting. She said the address casually, like it meant nothing. It was their address. My stomach dropped so hard I had to sit down. Not because I was excited, because I immediately pictured my parents scrambling, panicking, demanding help, acting like victims, and somehow making it my problem. I didn't tell them. I didn't warn them. I didn't ask their permission. I asked for the numbers. The building wasn't fancy. Older, solid, good location, stable tenants. It needed work, but not the kind that eats you alive. It was the kind of investment that doesn't look sexy on Instagram, but pays you back slowly if you're disciplined. I ran the math. I ran it again. I talked to my partners. I brought in counsel. I set up the purchase through an LLC, like any normal person protecting themselves would do. I kept the management company in place. I did it clean, quiet, professional. And I made one specific decision that I knew would matter later. I didn't touch my parents' unit. I didn't raise their rent. I didn't send them special warnings. I treated them exactly like everyone else, because that was the only way it stayed sane. They never knew. They kept mocking my apartment, even after I upgraded, even after I moved into a better place, even after I started traveling more. They adjusted their insults to fit. "Oh, so she thinks she's fancy now," my aunt would say. "She's still renting," my brother would add, because in his head, homeownership was the only marker of success that mattered, except, apparently, when it came to the fact our parents still rented too. Then my parents started falling behind on rent. Not constantly, just enough to be a problem. A month here, 2 months there. Late fees, promises. We'll catch up. Excuses. The bank messed up. Your dad had expenses. We had to help your brother. Always your brother. Always someone else. Always a reason that wasn't their choices. Jenna would flag it. I'd approve the standard notices. Not because I wanted them punished, because that's what you do as an owner. You don't let one tenant become a precedent that rules don't apply to. And then, last month, Jenna emailed me. Unit 3B has been late again. 2 months. They're escalating in tone with the office. She attached screenshots, my mum's messages, my dad's messages, demanding, threatening. We've lived here forever. We know our rights. We'll go to the media, like they were kings being wronged by peasants. I stared at those messages for a long time, not because they hurt, because they were familiar. That same entitlement, that same instinct to intimidate, the same way they spoke to me when I didn't do what they wanted. They didn't know it was me on the other side, and they were still being exactly who they've always been. I told Jenna to keep everything in writing. I told her to follow procedure. I told her not to mention my name. And I braced myself, because I knew the truth wouldn't stay buried forever. Paper always surfaces. Today is the day it surfaces, because the ownership transfer updates in the portal went out automatically. New legal entity name tied to the building. Management notices updated. Tenant accounts refreshed. My cousin saw the portal letter because she's listed as an emergency contact on my parents' lease. She screenshotted it, sent it to the family chat, and my family did what they always do. They turned it into a crisis and tried to drag me into the center so they could control it. Back in the attorney's office, Jenna walks in and says quietly, "They're downstairs." My attorney's eyebrows lift. "Here?" I nod, and I can feel my pulse in my throat again. Jenna adds, "They're demanding to see the owner." Of course they are. We don't let them in. Security handles it. Jenna steps out with the attorney and tells them the same thing I told them on the phone. Submit requests through the portal. No harassment. No walk-ins. No special access. My parents shout anyway, loud enough that people in the lobby stare. My dad yells, "She's doing this to punish us." My mum cries, "We're her parents." Like that unlocks a door. I don't go out there. I don't give them the satisfaction of a scene. I sit down, stare at the folder that says owner on the tab, and I breathe through the urge to run out and explain myself. Because explaining myself is how I used to survive them. Explaining myself is how they used to keep me hooked. My phone buzzes with a new text from my brother. This is disgusting. Mum is crying. I type, then delete, then type again. And finally, I send the only thing that matters. Tell them to pay their rent and stop harassing staff. Then I block him for the night, because I'm not doing this triangle where he speaks for them and calls it morality. The family chat keeps spitting messages, even muted. Little banners creeping up like smoke. I ignore them. I stand, take the keys Jenna hands me, and walk out the back exit with my attorney and property manager, like we're leaving a crime scene. My chest feels tight, but under that tightness, there's something else I didn't expect. Relief. Because for once, they can't laugh at me in my own space. For once, the space is mine in a way they can't belittle. The final beat happens later, when I'm home, Shoes kicked off. Sitting at my kitchen table with the tenant ledger open on my laptop and a cup of tea, I forgot to drink. My phone rings again. Mum. From a different number. Then Dad. Then my aunt. Like they're rotating through phones trying to break the boundary by force. I let every call ring out. Then I open the tenant portal, and I do the most boring, powerful thing I've ever done. I approve the standard notice Jenna drafted. Pay or quit. The exact legal language required in our state. The exact time frames, the exact rights. No drama. No cruelty. Procedure. Jenna messages. Sent. All communication recorded. I stare at the screen for a long second, waiting for guilt to swallow me the way it used to. It doesn't. What I feel instead is a quiet, steady anger that finally has somewhere to go. Into boundaries. Into structure. Into not being played with. My mum sends one last text from the new number. How could you do this to us? We are your parents. I don't write an essay. I don't list 5 years of insults. I don't beg for empathy. I write one sentence. The cleanest truth I have. Being my parents doesn't exempt you from treating people with respect or paying what you owe. Then I block the number. And when the phone goes quiet after that, actually quiet, not the tense quiet where you're waiting for the next attack, I sit back and realize the twist isn't that I own their building. The twist is that they're finally meeting the version of me who doesn't shrink to keep them comfortable.